What's up, guys? This is Matt checking in again. I am on my way to the PSI testing center. I'm gonna make an attempt at the residential or South Carolina residential home builders exam. A little bit nervous, a little bit anxious. Probably shouldn't have drank coffee this morning. But anyway, I wasn't really gonna make a video of this because it's, I don't know. But I got to thinking when I first started these videos, it was kind of my process or path from, kind of starting out as a part-time handyman, and then I went full-time. So I guess this is just another step in my my business or whatever. What I've had to do in South Carolina, in order to take this test, you have to have permission by the South Carolina Builders Commission just to sit for the test, just to take the test. You can't go in there and take it, pass it, and then, see if they'll give you the license. And in order to do that, part of the qualifications was you had to have 2 years previous, I think it was 2 years or at least 1 year, but I was thinking it was 2 years previous experience working for a licensed builder. Well, I didn't have that experience, but I've been in business since 2014 and been full-time for just barely over 2 years now. So anyway, I filled the paperwork out, sent it in, sent my, I think, $100 in, and I got a letter back saying that they would need me to meet with the board to, I guess they just wanted to interview me, talk to me a little bit, since I didn't have enough experience. So anyway, I had to do that through a Zoom meeting or whatever their version of a Zoom meeting, FaceTime, whatever. So I had to do that. I was kind of didn't know what to expect when I did that, because without me having any experience working for a builder, I just didn't know what to think. I had some notes written down of things that I've done, with my own house, jobs I've done. So logged on for that meeting. There was about, I don't know, there might have been 5 people that went before me. And I guess it might be important to know, but back in the day in South Carolina, you could get your builder's license in order to get past that step of, camera still aimed at me, in order to get past that step of working for somebody. You could just have a licensed builder sign a piece of paper saying that you've worked for them for a while, and that's the way a lot of guys did it. I've had people tell me that's what they did, and I've even had at least one guy, well, 2, told me that they would do that for me, but I just didn't want to do that. And then come to find out, they want a W-2 form showing that you've worked for somebody. So anyway, I log on to the meeting, and everybody has to mute themselves and knock their audio down, but you can see what's going on. Well, 2 or 3 guys went ahead of me, maybe even more than that, 4. And a lot of them, one of them stands out to me. He was trying to get his electrical, or sit for the electrical part of the test. And he was saying that he was sitting in the work van, on his phone, talking to the board. And there's like 5 people on this commission. He's sitting in the work van with his hat on, said some so-and-so's electric. Make sure he had that hat on. I thought was funny. Sitting in the truck with his supervisor in the work van, and they're asking about his experience, what all he's done, and he said he's been wiring houses with this guy for 4 years. He said he's been working with him for 4 years. And they even got the supervisor to kind of get on the screen. He said, yeah, he's been working with me for a while, and I'll let him, I'll just leave the job and let him run the wire, and he does good, blah, blah. And they said, well, we're not showing, it says he's been an apprentice for 4 years and he's not been getting paid. And the boy's like, yeah, he just let me work so I can get the experience. He said, well, how many hours a week do you work? 40? He's like, and you've been doing this for how long? He said 4 years. He said, so you've been working, one guy said, you've been working with this guy for 40 hours a week for 4 years and not getting paid? He's like, yeah. And then they asked the supervisor, well, why hadn't you been paying him? Well, he just wants to learn to get, so, it's pretty obvious this kid's lying. Anyway, there was several guys that did that, at least 3, that would say, I've been working for him for 2 years, but I ain't been getting paid. And it's like, man, and there was this one old guy on the commission. I say old guy, but he might have been 50, 55. He looked like he was the guy that had the experience of working, but he would snub them out. He's like, no, I don't buy it. And they rejected their request to take the test. So anyway, another guy went, and he was able to get set for it. And then when it come up to me, I just told him, I've been doing this for 2 years. I do this all day, every day. I told him about a few things that I did, and just for a few minutes. And that old guy that, like I was talking about, he was the first one to say, he said, I say we let him take it. So come to find out, you can, if you've just been doing this stuff for yourself, you can get permission to take this test if you've been doing the work. So that made my day. So anyway, like I said, I'll ramble. I got the books for this exam. A friend of mine ordered all these books a while back, and he never took the test. And the books are like, man, it's approaching $1,000 for these books. Well, my buddy had the books, and he offered to let me use his. He wouldn't even take any money for them. I found a course online that will help you tab your books and help you study and all. So I did that, and I've been working on studying for this thing for, I don't know, 4 weeks now. But that course, I hope, was very helpful. I'm fixing to find out. PSI is who administers the test for South Carolina. They've got a practice exam you can take. It's like $25. Well, I took a practice exam. The website's very screwy. I took the practice exam, and everything on there was just totally foreign to me. All the studying I'd done, none of that stuff showed up. So that was pretty discouraging. So anyway, a week later, I felt like I found the right test. I took that one. It was different, and it was totally foreign. I ended up flunking both of those pretty bad, less than 50%. And I was like, man, this is, I done paid this money for this course, got all this information, and ain't none of it showing up. Well, anyway, I took a third test, and I thought maybe it was the right one. $25 more. Well, I started it was the same test I took before. Totally frustrating to know that this I've been studying the wrong information. Well, I emailed the lady where I'm going to take the test at. She's like, yeah, those practice tests are just to show you how the test will be laid out. It's not meant as a study guide. So I'm like, well, thanks for nothing. $75 down the drain. They shouldn't tell you that it's a practice test and then it not be an actual practice test. All it was to show you how the test would be laid out, on the computer, multiple choice. This is what it's going to look like, so you'd be familiar with it. So anyway, all that to say, I'll tell you when I get out of this exam today whether or not that PSI practice test was any good. But as far as I can tell, the PSI exam is trash. And I've called the main office several times. I'm on hold for 30 minutes, and then when I do get an answer, it's somebody in a foreign country, or at least that can't understand my language. It's hard enough as an American to understand what I'm saying, much less somebody from another country. And not very helpful. There's always, even when people from another country do speak English, they don't know the culture. There's a culture barrier there. So anyway, PSI, so far, I have not been happy with. I hope that I can pass this test. If not, I'll take it again. I can take it 3 times within a year of them giving me permission. If you don't get it done or don't get it passed, I think you got to go before the board again. So hopefully I'm going to come out of this test today, passed, and we'll see what happens. But that'll be the second half of this video. I'm heading to Charlotte, North Carolina right now. That's where the test is administered, and I'll see what happens. Well, I'm out, guys. I've been in there for 8 hours. I passed the business and law part of it, but I unfortunately failed the residential builders part of it. Struggled with that, man. You had to get 77 answers right. I got 75 right, so I've missed it by 2 questions. There's 110 questions. I missed it by 2. And man, that is a bummer. I think I'd rather miss it by a mile than get that close. But I don't know. At least that means hopefully I can get it the next time around. I didn't know you couldn't take food in. I took a little snack bar in, but I left my lunch in the truck, and you can't come back out once you go in. So 8 hours, and I had a little granola bar all day and a sip of water out of the water fountain. But I really don't think that affected my performance. I was hungry, but I didn't have a headache or anything like that. I stayed in the code book 95% of the time. I had 7 books with him, and well, 6, not including the business and law book, but the code book is where I stayed, man. Where I struggled was on the electrical, the plumbing, and the heating and air part of it. I think there was 12 questions for each of those 3. I think I got 8 right. I got 8 right on one and 6 right on the other 2. So 8 out of 12, 6 out of 12, 6 out of 12. Those were not things that I was expecting to have to deal with as much. I had a hard time finding some those things in the code book, and that's the only place I could have found them, because my other books only dealt with like concrete and masonry. I did have one book that dealt briefly with plumbing and electrical and HVAC, but I couldn't find the answers in that. And then I used my index every single time when I'm looking for a question on the out of that code book, but I just couldn't find. Like one was golly, it was something to do with where do you place the ball cock on the vent line, something. Anyway, I couldn't find how to find that answer. And then there was a set of building plans they give you, and I didn't really struggle on that, but a couple of times it referred to like how many yards of concrete are you gonna need to pour the garage slab, the driveway, the turnarounds, and the front entry. Well, for the life of me, I couldn't find any specs on anything except for the garage slab. So I feel sure I got that wrong. If not, I got lucky and guessed it right. But there was another time it was asking something. It was something to do with concrete, and it said something about it was how far is the garage and turnaround away from the east boundary line, and I couldn't find a east or I couldn't find a turnaround. So I don't know, man, maybe I overlooked it, but it wasn't 6 pages. So, but anyway, I'm bummed out, man, but that's the way it is. I really didn't want to make this video, but I kind of told myself that I would. I felt like I owed it to myself to do it, just so that I could honestly say I'm videoing all my experiences in this whole handyman thing. So anyway, I don't know how long you have to wait, or if there's a certain amount of time you got to wait. But once I get to where I'm going, I'm gonna write down all this stuff while it's fresh on my mind, so that I can focus on my weak spots. I guess the silver lining is I passed that South Carolina Business and Law part. That was a 2-hour exam. I took the other one that was 6 hours. It took me, and I took the entire time. You can mark questions that you're not sure about as you go. So I had about 20 minutes left. So I went back and looked over those, but only 1 or 2 of them. I had like 30 questions marked. Only 1 or 2 of them I could find the answers to. But that's all for now. Thanks for nothing. Okay, I'm headed to take the exam again. About 8:30 in the morning. I gotta be there by 9:30. Test starts at 10. Should be about 30 minutes early, but it takes me 30 minutes to get there, so I ain't taking any chances. I can't remember what all I left off with, what I had said, but I do know that since the last time I took the test, which was about 3 weeks ago, I don't remember if I've mentioned this or not, but I really struggled with the 3 specialties that came up. The questions on heating and air, questions on plumbing, and questions on electrical. There was 12 questions from each one. So 36, I think I got 8 out of 12 right on the electrical, and I got 6 out of 12 right on the other two. So just barely 50%. So if I had 2 more questions right on those, that would have put me over the top. But what I did realize is in the code book that I referenced to a lot in that first exam, I mean 95% of the time I referenced that code book. I don't even know if the other books are necessary, honestly. But there was a lot of stuff that I didn't highlight or focus on any of those things. I guess I just assumed that was for the the people that were trying to get their electrical license or plumbing or HVAC. So anyway, I've got a lot of that stuff referenced now, highlighted a lot of things. I tabbed sections so that hopefully I can find those things quicker and find them during this exam. The last time when those questions came up, man, I was just all over the place trying to find them. And especially at the electrical stuff, it's a lot of calculations as far as how much load and amps and stuff like that you're going to need, and clearances for the wiring. So it was hard to find the most of the other stuff I could find in the index for the all the other things, the building part of or construction part of a house. But those I had to I don't know, I couldn't even find it. It was I was kind of in panic mode. So hopefully this time around I can find the answers to the questions and be able to get the right answers. On the one hand, I'm thinking the last time I only missed passing by 2 answers. But now on the other hand, after going through all this electrical stuff, I keep saying electrical because that seems to be the hardest stuff to just get a handle on. But anyway, I feel like after going through all this stuff, it's even tougher because I don't know. I'm just anxious and I'm nervous. So we will see how I do. I'm sure I'll do fine. I prayed on it. I hope I'll do fine. But all I can do is all I can do. The biggest problem I've got right now is I'm just ready to get on with it. I don't like waiting around for something. I'm ready to just get on with it and start taking this test and hope to pass it and be done with it. You only get 3 chances within a year's time, and then you got to get reapproved. This will be test number 2. I'd be pretty bummed out if I don't make it on this time. But and that's another thing. I've got food this time. Last time I didn't have any food, and they wouldn't let you leave the building to go get something to eat. I had a sandwich in my truck, but you can't leave the building. I'm gonna take my food in with me. You can come outside of the testing, the exam room, into the lobby to get something to snack on. So I've got that. And I've got this. Let's see if I can do this what I reckon. I got this. Old school. Those blueprints that I had to refer to, there's a couple things on there like the GFCI receptacles. You had to count how many GFIs were in this house, and they were so small and blended in, it was hard to see. So I got I want to say a telescope, a magnifying glass. I'm assuming they're gonna let me bring that in. I don't know why they wouldn't. So I think that's gonna be handy. That's it. We'll see how I do. Wish me luck. Alrighty, I'm all done, and I did pass. Finally. 6 hours again. It's actually about 4:30 or so now. I've made a few phone calls to tell some people that I passed it. But anyway, did get it passed. It was another struggle, man. That's a tough test. This time, it didn't tell me when you pass, it doesn't tell you how good you did or for how many you got wrong or right. But I think it was close. I needed 77 to pass. I had written down about 75 that I was sure of. And then the other ones maybe just, I wasn't positive. So, as far as I'm concerned, I don't care. I say that. I would like to know, but either way, it's passed. I spent 99% of my time in that residential code book. I could show you the picture of it, but I got the 2018 IRC, IRC International Residential Code, and that's what the state of South Carolina, which is what I'm in, uses. I had 6 books total, but I don't know how important those books would be. You could definitely pass it without those books. I'm not telling you not to get them, but there's a lot of money you spend on them books when you didn't, you could probably spend $200 and just get that IRC book instead of $1,000 and get them all. One thing I will say that I thought about this while I was in there that I wanted to mention, use the index in that code book and get familiar with that book. I'm more familiar with it now just because I've taken the test twice and been going over it and over it and over it and back and forth. But the index is very helpful. Have the chapters tabbed, and that contractor training course that I paid like $500 for. I mean, it was helpful, I think, but it didn't have every answer highlighted. It might have had, I don't know, half of the answers highlighted might be saying a lot. But anyway, I would say get familiar with that code book and that index. And another thing, if you can't find something in the index, think of another name for it. Like when a question would ask me about windows, it didn't have a whole lot in the index about windows, but I remember just by being familiar that it also could be under glazing. So that helped me out. I wrote down some stuff while I was in there, but just like different names, like a vent or ventilation. Maybe that one was under a duct, D-U-C-T, but stuff like that. I kind of gathered myself and remembered not to panic when I couldn't find something, think of another name for it, or even look. The answers were, it was multiple choice, so they give you 4 answers. So I would go and look at the 4 answers, look for those in the index, and go back and find it. But it was a struggle, man. Oh, and 1 hour to go. I knew I was going to be close. I thought I was going to pass, but an hour to go, every computer in that place went down and the whole room went dark. There's a lot of people taking tests for all sorts of different things in there, and the whole place went dark, and everybody was like, oh, didn't been in there 5 hours and the power went out. And I just knew that I was going to have to take that thing again, take another day out of work. But fortunately, it was all saved, and everything popped right back up. And while I was sitting there, I just sat there for a minute. Everybody was just kind of sitting there talking a little bit, and then I realized I'm gonna go look for an answer that I was taking a long time looking for earlier. I couldn't find it, and I did find it. It was something to do about a grounding conductor. Had to be marked green and this and that. But anyway, that's it. You know the deal. Another video means another hat. If you'll leave a comment and subscribe, I'll send you a hat. Possibly I'll send out one. I got some more ordered. But that's all I can do to help you on that test. I hope it is helpful. It's all up to you now. Go get them.